Here are 7 NBA players who could play on a new team before the start of the 2019-2020 NBA season. First of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to every single person who's recently been liking the videos and subscribing. The support recently has been incredible, and I just want to say a massive thanks to you guys. This whole channel and my return to YouTube would not have been possible without your help, so just a massive thank you. Anyway, if you enjoy these types of videos, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you're new, and let's get into the video. The way that we are ordering these 7 players is from old veteran players to the top of the NBA landscape. We kind of all know that Russell Westbrook will be top 3, but who are the other guys? Who are the other all-stars? And who are the mediocre guys that could be a solid piece to a contending team or just any team in the league? Let's start off with number 7, Vince Carter. Vince Carter is 42 years old, so he's obviously reaching the end of his career, but if this is his last season, where may he play? I believe he'll probably go to a contending team as he does not have an NBA championship, and I don't think he should go to any other team that isn't contending. I really wanted Vince Carter originally to join the Toronto Raptors, but with Kawhi Leonard leaving, I don't think the Raptors would be a contending team, so I don't really want to see him back on the Raptors. But if he doesn't join a contending team, please make it the Toronto Raptors, because that would just be so cool. But a few teams that could look to him are the Los Angeles Clippers, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Brooklyn Nets, and even the Golden State Warriors, as they don't have Klay Thompson and could use a shooting guard small forward player on their roster. Even if Vince Carter is 42 years old, he can be a solid contributor off the bench, and they did lose Andre Iguodala, so I believe he could probably end up on the Golden State Warriors if they want him. In just 17.5 minutes, Vince Carter averaged 7 points, shooting 38% from 3, which is something that a lot of teams would actually need. A guy that can come off the bench and shoot threes at a good percentage. And whilst he is old, his athleticism is still there. Yes, he isn't the same Vince Carter that threw down the craziest dunks in the year 2000, but he is still a reasonably athletic player at 42 years old, which is just insane. Number 7, Carmelo Anthony. This is a player that I really don't see playing on any team other than the Los Angeles Lakers. If the Lakers can pick him up, I believe he would be a solid contributor. I'm not as harsh on Melo as a lot of the other people, especially in the YouTube comment section. Everyone goes so hard on Carmelo Anthony, but I believe he could still be a solid contributor. And I believe that because he hasn't really played too many games in the past couple of seasons, he actually would be willing to take a back seat. And yes, I know in the past he said me off the bench. Yeah, I know.
Hey, Pete, they said I got to come off the bench.
But this time around, I do think he would come off the bench. And if he came off the bench as a small forward, power forward player on the Lakers, he could be a solid contributor. A guy that can space the floor, hit the open shot, and score in a variety of ways. And I believe that if anyone was going to get him on their team, it would be LeBron James. Carmelo's best friend, and a guy that wouldn't mind having him on the team in my opinion. His inconsistent shooting in the past and his lack of playing off the bench has really got a lot of people upset over him. But at the end of the day, no matter how you view Melo now, if you look at his entire career, he's one of the greatest scorers and purest small forwards to ever play the game, and I believe he should be on a team. If the Lakers are looking at Amari Stoudemire and Monte Ellis, I believe that you have to have Carmelo Anthony on your radar, and I believe he will end up on the Los Angeles Lakers too. Number 6, Dwight Howard. This is a guy that I believe is actually a very good contributor to any team he ends up on. Now, he is in that similar mold to Melo, where everybody hates on Dwight Howard. But at the end of the day, in just 9 games last season, he averaged 13 points and 9 rebounds whilst being unhealthy. The year before, literally in 2017-2018, Dwight was still getting hate, but he was a guy that played 81 games out of 82. He averaged 16.5 points, 12.5 rebounds, shooting 55% from the field, and averaged 1.6 blocks. That is a very good stat line for a guy that was 32 years old, and it's almost as if people expect Dwight Howard to not decline. Yes, he's gonna decline. He's a center in the NBA that was the greatest center in the NBA, leading his team to the NBA Finals at one point. Yes, he's not gonna be the same Dwight Howard, but that is a very good stat line, and it just shows that if he's healthy, which he was 2 seasons ago, he can be a very good player. 81 games out of 82. People say that he's injury prone, but the year before last season when he was actually injured, he played 81 games. The year before that, 74 games. The year before that, 71 games. Then he was injured for around half the season as he played 41 games. But then before that, 71, 76. So people that say that he's injury prone, seriously just don't watch Dwight Howard play. Because he's not injury prone. He plays more games throughout the entire season than most of the NBA centers today. Dwight Howard last season made it obvious that he wasn't healthy. He knows that he wasn't healthy, and that's the reason why he played 9 games and rested. Now, he says, I'm a full go. I've been running. I've been playing. I've lost 25 pounds in 4 weeks, and my conditioning has got a lot better. And you can see that. Look at this photo right now. You can tell that obviously Dwight Howard and his fashion sense is something else, but he is also looking a lot slimmer, and that is something that would be very enticing for teams, that they can count on Dwight Howard being a little bit healthier. And obviously, if he played 81 games only 2 seasons ago, what's to say that he can't get back to even 70 or 80 games this season? I believe there's a few teams that would look to get Dwight Howard, and I personally believe he has to be on a team next season. Right now he's on the Memphis Grizzlies, but they plan to waive him, so these are the teams that I think will go after him. Number 1, the Boston Celtics. They now have Kemba Walker alongside Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and losing Al Horford, they picked up Enes Kanter. Kanter isn't bad, but he's a shocking defender. But if they got Dwight Howard, he would be able to lock down at that center position, and obviously he isn't as good on the offensive end as he used to be, but to me he's a better all-around player than Enes Kanter, both defensively and offensively, and even if he doesn't play as many games, well, you still have Enes Kanter on your team that you just signed this season. So I believe that Dwight Howard would be a great fit on the Boston Celtics. Another team would actually be the Los Angeles Clippers. Number 1, they are a team that is competing for an NBA championship. Dwight Howard, despite going to the finals, which still goes underrated in my opinion, he took that Magic team to the finals, but that's for a whole nother video. Dwight Howard, I think at this age, would be looking to win an NBA championship. And the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George would actually be a great fit for him. Harrell is an undersized center. He is 6'8", and his true position is at power forward. Who else do they have? Well, their only center is Zubac. And Zubac, whilst being okay, he is only 22 years old, and he isn't that great on the defensive end. Dwight Howard on the Clippers, I could see that as being a good fit. Even if he doesn't get that many minutes, I believe that him and Harrell would be a good fit, and that is something to match up against DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis if they make it to the Western Conference Finals, and it's the Battle of LA. Number 5, Andre Iguodala. This is a guy that many teams will target, and because he won't be like Dwight Howard and be waived by the Memphis Grizzlies, he's a guy that will have to be traded for, which means that the Lakers really want him, but are they going to trade for him? I guess if they offer up a first round pick, the Memphis Grizzlies will take that, but I believe there's a few other teams that would also offer up a first round pick, so it's really just up to the Memphis Grizzlies, but I do believe that Andre Iguodala will end up on either the Lakers or the Houston Rockets. Both teams will throw in picks, they want to get him, they're teams that really do need him in the Western Conference that is so tough, and I believe that one of those two teams will end up getting him. Or a sneaky team that may also get him is his former team, the Denver Nuggets, with the injury-prone Michael Porter Jr., who may or may not return. Iggy would be a good fit on that team, as he's a defensive wing who can also play make, and that is something that the Denver Nuggets love. Number 4, Steven Adams. Obviously, with Russell Westbrook requesting a trade out of Oklahoma, this brings them into a rebuild, and I don't believe there is any point in keeping Steven Adams if you were trying to rebuild. He would definitely be a good fit on any contending team, as a lot of teams will be targeting a big man, and if they can offer 1 or 2 first round picks, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder will just take that and run with it. And Steven Adams, if the Boston Celtics can offer up 2 first round picks, just like I said with Dwight Howard, and I believe that they can get him if they want to pay the price of offering 2 first round picks, and if I'm Danny Ainge, I'm doing that because Steven Adams is a very solid player. Another team that could be a sleeper is the Atlanta Hawks. They really don't have a big man at their position, and I don't think they're going to get Dwight Howard, as I don't think he would come back to the Atlanta Hawks, as he played there only a few seasons ago. But Steven Adams is a guy that he could fit on that team, as he is only 26 years old, and a lot of the Atlanta Hawks guys are in their early 20s, and they will look to make a push in the Eastern Conference. Like, this is a team that I think could go after Steven Adams, but like I said, basically all the teams that went after Dwight Howard, I believe will also go after Steven Adams. So the Clippers, the Celtics, the Kings. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Miami Heat do get Russell Westbrook. They also try to get Steven Adams in the deal, as they would probably have to give up either Bam Adebayo, Kelly Olynyk, James Johnson, or one of their big men. And if they can get Steven Adams to replace them, well, that would also be a good fit for the Miami Heat, as they'd have Westbrook, Butler, Winslow, Steven Adams, and that is a decent team in the Eastern Conference. Number 3, Kevin Love or Kyle Lowry. Now, I put these two together because I don't think that they will be traded before the start of this season, but they could be. Obviously, with the Raptors not getting Kawhi Leonard back, it leaves them in a weird predicament where they have Lowry, they have Gasol, they have Ibaka, but they're really not going to contend with this team. And with Pascal Siakam at 25 years old, they may as well build around him. And I don't think Marc Gasol and Kyle Lowry will be on this team much longer, as they're both on one-year contracts, so they may be traded at the trade deadline, and that would be the most realistic option if the Raptors aren't very good. So I'm going to say Kyle Lowry, but I don't think he'll be traded just yet. But I do think that Kevin Love could be a guy, because he's on a team with basically all young players. Colin Sexton's 20, Garland is 19, and then the rest of their players like Larry Nance and Cedi Osman, like they're all just in their mid-20s, and Kevin Love is 31, and he's a guy that would like to contend in my opinion, and I believe that he could be traded before the start of this season. Kevin Love is a guy that is really interesting because his contract situation is not what many teams want. He's a guy that is on a pretty big contract and it's hard to find the right deal for him. But at the same time, it's hard to see him on a Cleveland Cavaliers team that is clearly trying to rebuild. So I believe that the likely destination for him is to end up on the Portland Trail Blazers. But because they just got Hassan Whiteside, I don't think they're going to get him at the start of this season. But watch out for the trade deadline. Because once Nurkic comes back, you can straight swap Hassan Whiteside and a pick. And I believe that the Cavs would take that. Number one would be because Hassan Whiteside is on a one-year deal, which means he would be off the books for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And number two, they would also get a first or 2 first-round picks for him. And then if he's on the Portland Trailblazers, they will have a very good team in the Western Conference. Lillard, CJ, K-Love, Nurkic, and they have some guys off the bench like Bazemore and Hazonia. They could be a very good team to contend, even in the Western Conference. But you still have to put him at a guy that could be traded before the season, because you never know in the NBA. Number 2, Bradley Beal and John Wall. At this point in time, the Washington Wizards are not looking to trade Bradley Beal unless they can also trade John Wall at the same time. And this is obviously because of John Wall's huge contract, and the Wizards want to go young with Rui Hachimura and future first round picks and start a rebuild, but they're in that weird predicament where they have Bradley Beal and they have an injured John Wall on a huge contract. So, the Washington Wizards do not want to trade Bradley Beal if they cannot trade John Wall, and because the two will be together, it's hard to get a good deal for both of them. The Miami Heat have contacted the Washington Wizards about getting Bradley Beal, as they want to get Jimmy Butler a second star, which is either going to be Russell Westbrook or Bradley Beal. But at the moment for the Washington Wizards, they really don't want to trade Bradley Beal by himself. In saying that, because the Washington Wizards were willing to trade Bradley Beal, if they could also add John Wall to the trade, I believe that the Miami Heat would also risk that. Simply, if they do miss out on Russell Westbrook and they want to get Jimmy Butler a second star, and Bradley Beal is that guy, well, you never know. Bradley Beal and John Wall may head to the Miami Heat, but other than Bradley Beal and John Wall to the Heat, there is really no other teams that would go after those two players, simply because the contract situation is too hard to figure out. There's a few teams that have also contacted the Washington Wizards, like the Boston Celtics. When they lost out on Anthony Davis, the Celtics contacted the Wizards about getting Bradley Beal, and if they can make the contract situation work out, then Bradley Beal could head to Boston in a trade that involves Gordon Hayward and 2 or 3 future first round picks to the Washington Wizards. That would make the contract situation work out, and the Wizards would also get future first round picks that they could rebuild with. And number 1, Russell Westbrook. Now, I made a video on Russell Westbrook, so if you guys want to watch a full in-depth video on where I think Russell Westbrook will end up, you can click the link in the description box down below. But I believe there's a few options. Number 1, the Miami Heat is the first option, then the Orlando Magic. The Detroit Pistons are coming in hard as they want Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, and Westbrook as a big 3 in the Eastern Conference. And obviously, because he has requested a trade, I think he will be gone before the start of this season. So, So let me know where you think Russell Westbrook will end up. And with that said, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new for daily NBA content. Be sure to hit the notification button and follow me on Instagram to see what I get up to. And with that said, let me know if you think there are any other players that could be on a new team before the start of this season. I'm out. Peace.